Reportedly, IBM is exploring to sell Watson Health, which has struggled for market shares for the past few years. Do you think Watson is a blunder for IBM's AI strategy?
It just has not taken off as a separate, broad platform. I think there are some niche applications for Watson where Watson may be better than other approaches. But the original idea of Watson was that it could interpret structured and unstructured information. It could read, for example, medical reports. It could look at data from client studies or patient studies, different treatments, and recommend best solutions. But for the most part, it doesn't seem to be much better than experts, and sometimes it's worse. And it requires this massive training exercise, putting massive amounts of data into the system. And there are more sophisticated, simpler approaches to artificial intelligence built around neural networks these days. Deep learning, for example, from Google and Microsoft and Amazon have their own approaches, and they're available as services or API access services on their clouds. So it's quite easy for companies to build artificial intelligence applications in one of these public cloud platforms, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and even smaller companies like Salesforce have public cloud. So there's really not a lot of room for IBM. So it made a lot of acquisitions of companies, folded them into Watson Health. The companies it bought were largely attempts to get data on patients, medical records, feed them into the system to train Watson. But it just has not proved to be superior to other approaches or even to expert human beings. So pretty much it does look like a failure or quite a big mistake.
So, do you think it's a smart decision to sell Watson?
I'm not sure that it's really a smart decision to sell it. There's a lot of sunk cost in it, and I'm not sure what kind of value they could get for it. But the broader problem in IBM is they keep selling off businesses that they think are becoming commodity. They've lost their distinctive edge and other companies jump into the competition. But I don't think IBM can keep selling these businesses because almost all technology businesses are commoditizing. So if they keep selling off all their big bets and all their cloud businesses or their more specialized businesses like Watson, there's really not going to be much left at all in IBM. So there are alternatives. If you look at what Amazon has done, it has stayed in commodity businesses, including retail, but turned them or used fairly simple artificial intelligence technologies and cloud technologies to make those businesses more efficient, to make them grow. Even though the profit margins are low, they've stayed in those businesses and made them more efficient and bigger. And then eventually they become more profitable. They start reaching a point where they can benefit from economies of scale, new types of automation, artificial intelligence and machine learning applications. For example, the recommendation engines and in Amazon, the combination of the online store with the marketplace, with cloud computing, web services business, they all become quite synergistic and help each other. And now Amazon is an extraordinarily profitable company. So in the case of IBM, I worry that if they keep exiting these businesses because the margins start dropping, there's just nowhere for them to go. An alternative would be to maybe put some new technology into the health business, rely somewhat less on Watson, try to expand their use of other artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies, and see if they can make it a profitable business, because it could be a big business. I would give it a few more years, but if that fails, then I think probably they have to move on. But the problem is the reliance on Watson. The healthcare business itself is not necessarily the problem, I think.
Lenovo bought IBM's PC business 15 years ago. What has it gained from this acquisition?
In general, the personal computer business is a commodity business. There is volume, but there's not much profit. It's probably not a bad business for Lenovo, but it's probably not as profitable as maybe their server business, or I know they have some smartphones they inherited from Motorola, but those other businesses are generally, particularly servers, are more profitable because you can sell more expensive machines and have a higher profit margin. However, as we've also seen, some of these high volume businesses are still important businesses to be in. So I still think the personal computer is an important technology. So are smartphone devices. Lenovo is a better consumer products company than IBM is, but IBM has never been a good consumer company. It is really an enterprise company. So even from the very beginning, it's made bad mistakes in the personal computer industry. It's not good at marketing to average consumer. Its overhead, its internal costs are too high for many things. So it's probably a good decision for IBM to get out of personal computers. But for Lenovo, it would be maybe a different decision.